And hello, folks. We're back at Ganime with one of the very special guests, a returning guest from last year, Liana K. Absent Ed the Sock this time, though. It was a cool meet. All right. So, Liana, what attracts you to Ganime?
You invite me? That's the cynical answer. No, it's really fun. It's nice to come and do a smaller show where you get to sort of talk to people and hang around, and it's a more relaxed pace. I mean, at Anime North, it's rah! From start to finish. Everybody turns into a rabbit by the end of the weekend. Here, it's smaller, and so you can see more panels. You can meet more people. I actually get into the dealer's room. That doesn't happen at the bigger shows because it's just such a crush. So it's fun to come out here. It's fun to come to a different part of the country. Conventions have their own sort of souls, so it's nice to visit different places.
Awesome. Now, how did you first get into anime, and how did you first get into steampunk?
I was saying in the panel, steampunk sort of came to me. I was doing it before I realized there was a name. Anime is sort of the same way. There was all this stuff, and I didn't know it was, like Astroboy and things like that. I didn't know that it wasn't just a cartoon. And then I find out, oh no, there's this thing called anime. It's like, what's that? Like Princess Mononoke? Yes! That's something different? Yes! Why? Because it's from Japan! And then I found out that no, it is different. There are cultural points that are storytelling points, all these things. And so, but I kind of came into it that way, and it's not... Anime shows are not just anime. I think that's something most people don't realize. They're costuming shows. There's a BioShock panel this morning at Ganime. I don't know what that has to do with anime. But so they've become more and more cosplay shows, and that's just cool. There's a guy in a very large pink robot suit behind me. See, how can you not say that's cool? That's cool. Pink robot.
Also people with pink hair. There are lots of pink hair, lots of fluorescent bright colors.
I like to go places where my hair is not the strangest color in the room.
Yes, that does help. Now, you've also worked for many years in the television industry. Could you tell our viewers about some of your experiences in film and television, how you got started, and what advice you might give them for up-and-coming filmmakers who want to get into the industry?
We have to keep this clean, right?
No.
Because a lot of my best stories involve porn. No, that is actually one of the most fascinating industries in media. TV's sort of cynical, film's really slow. They're the really glamorous ones, but when you spend any time actually getting to know people in the adult industry, all of a sudden it's like, wow, this is really fascinating, and it's a surreal experience going on to one of those sets. Because it literally is, hey, how are you? How's your kids? Oh, fine. They talk about water cooler stuff. And then they get naked. And it just feels the most natural thing in the world once you've been there a few times. And I guess because they want, it's mainly the guys, they have to keep calm and not thinking about it too much. They can't get nervous because that affects porn quite significantly. So everything's got to be really chill and fun and joking around, and it's actually some of the more relaxed sets because you can't have a director screaming at the talent when the talent must maintain an erection. So if I could work behind the scenes in adult and produce and things like that, it would be much more enjoyable than the regular TV industry. And that's probably the best way I can describe the TV industry.
Okay, how about those who want to get into the TV industry? I don't think the best avenue for an aspiring director would be to say, okay, you two, go screw each other, and let's film it.
Well, you can make money at it. You can. The thing I would suggest anybody wanting to get into TV is have multiple skills. Be able to do wardrobe, be able to do editing, be able to do basic lighting, to do a little bit of camera. The only thing I haven't used is camera because you can't be on both sides of the camera at the same time without, well, videographers can, but I'm not that talented. But knowing how one piece of the puzzle works makes you better at other pieces, but also in terms of staying employed, it's nice to be able to jump from role to role to role so you have more opportunities. If you just go, I'm going to be on camera, there are a very tiny amount of jobs on camera, and you have to be where the productions are happening to get considered for that, because the audition process sucks. It's not a great way to identify talent. Someone can totally fluke it, and what you're getting is not somebody who can actually play a character. You're getting someone who is the person you're looking for. You're not getting a trained actor through the audition process, because there's not enough information in that audition process for an actor to create a character. It's, read this dialogue. Well, I know nothing about this character. You know, every time somebody comes in this room, I learn more about who this character's supposed to be. Didn't you write it? Well, yes. So you sort of have to be there, and that means, you know, everybody knows Harrison Ford started as a carpenter. You know, there's a reason for that. You have to be there, and you have to be hanging around, and you have to understand your industry no matter what you do. There's no such thing as not working for a living. Musicians work hard. Actors work hard, and we work in an industry where people can't see you working. If people, you know, those checkout girls are like, you can't do that. I can't half-ass that way. I gotta smile and be happy and look good even when I don't feel good. And that's the challenge a lot of people don't see.
So much of it is about persona, right? You have an image to maintain because people see you a certain way.
Yes. I see it more about having something to say. What do you want to accomplish with what you're doing? Is there a persona? Yeah. Mine is broad enough that I think people pretty much expect anything from me at this point. I've done some very strange things. And as long as sort of I'm friendly and
charming.
Charm's subjective. You know, there
True.
are people who think I'm a flaming asshole. It's mouthy women are not considered charming in some sections of the population, and I have no interest in appealing to that section of the population. I guess that's a persona, but that's real to me. You know, and so many people are like, oh, your work is sexist, your program is sexist. It's like, no, come on, let's go. I've read the books. You know, you mean Simone de Beauvoir? Let's go. Let's talk about other gender theory. Let's talk about the role of women. Let's really examine what these things are. And to me, it's me and Lady Gaga and maybe RuPaul doing that right now. Kind of examining gender and what people can do. And that wasn't what I started off to do. I started off to tell jokes and make funny. And then I learned about the problems with sort of attractive people doing comedy. If you think about comedic actors, you have Seth Rogen, you have, what's that guy? Kevin something, but they're all kind of...
Kevin Smith?
Kevin Smith. No, that wasn't who I was thinking of, but I'll go with Kevin Smith. He works too. I love Kevin Smith. They're kind of schlubby guys, you know, appearance-wise. The bad guys in comedy are the buff guys, you know, the Stiflers and things like that. But the girls are always hot and don't do very much. Why? Well, that's the dynamic that we have established as comedy. And so I sort of had to break down the whole idea of what funny was and go with it. And now, I mean, you see really great stuff now. You watch The Green Hornet, and Cameron Diaz is amazing in it, you know, and you're seeing women do some really great comic stuff. And before that, it was basically like Brooke Shields, and most people don't know that Marilyn Monroe was an absolutely phenomenal straight man for comedy. She was so good at the setup. You didn't see her doing it. That's why she worked with comedians so much. She'd get those guys up there and she'd do the shows and she'd know how to set them up for the joke. If you watch it, she's doing the same job as guys like Dean Martin were. The straight man in every team is the more important of the two because they're the one that has to set up the joke. And I studied her a lot in that way, her old interviews, to try to go, how do you do that and be feminine as opposed to be one of the guys? Because I didn't want to be the honorary guy on the show. I wanted it to be specifically a female voice because that's important. And she was one of the only ones. I mean, Mae West was the other, and I just adore Mae West. So Wonder why, huh?
That's really cool. For those of you who might not know, Liana was co-host of Ed and Red's Night Party a couple years back, and I believe I saw something on Facebook about you guys have a new show. Maybe
This movie sucks.
This movie sucks. Okay.
I'm not sure because we're on in Hamilton, Toronto, and we're on in Montreal, CJNT in Montreal. Maybe that's the one you guys would get here because we're on the Quebec side. But what it basically is the closest thing to it is Mystery Science Theater 3000, but it's not quite the same thing because they ran the movies full length. We cut them down to make them shorter and easier to watch. But it's the same thing. We sort of spoof movies, and we have this little living room set, and mayhem ensues, and we build Box Wars robots and huts, and there's if you watch it, there's a lot of cosplay. There's a lot of fandom stuff. We reenacted one scene from a movie with He-Man toys. There's a lot of pop culture stuff in it. So it's this neat sort of perpetual motion thing going on right now where we go to the conventions and we see what real people think is cool as opposed to the Hollywood idea of cool. And we learn that a lot of the things that Hollywood thinks people want, they really don't. And so we're able to incorporate that and be sort of ahead of the trend because we come here and we see it and we actually talk to people and, we don't spend the whole time in the green room surrounded by Wranglers. So that's important, and it's giving people the content they want to watch as opposed to what most people do with TV is just take the best. Especially I know when I watch TV, it's like, well, this part makes me feel kind of crappy, but I like this part, so I'll watch around the parts I don't like. I think people should be able to watch a TV show that speaks to them.
True enough. I definitely agree. Do you happen to watch any web series, or do you watch what's that one with The Guild? Have you seen The Guild?
I do not watch The Guild. My favorite I did costumes for a web series called Tights and Fights. That's a bunch of superheroes. My big thing I watch religiously on the web is Zero Punctuation.
What is Zero Punctuation?
Zero Punctuation is a video game. We did a show called Fromage for the longest time. It's
Yes, I remember Fromage. I used to love it, and I was sad to see it go off.
Sort of the Fromage of video games. This fast-talking British guy just rips on video games, and he's hilarious. It's on a website called The Escapist. That's the thing I watch most frequently because I'm a huge gamer. I would rather play a game than watch something passively, but he just makes me laugh. He's so sharp, like he's on, he really is insightful as well as savagely funny. And I know a lot of the people who work in games and watch the games, even when their game gets ripped apart, they appreciate it because now Yahtzee's cool and everybody's like, all right, he covered us. That's good.
Awesome. Anything else that you might want to add, let's say, to the film viewers, or even going back to the role of women? Now, in Spell Fury, the main character is actually a female warrior called Druinia, and she is the chosen one. So that might be something that's, I don't know, more towards that more female roles with a lot more action, taking a larger charge.
Okay, remember what I said about charm is subjective?
Yes.
Yeah, when you start getting into women's issues, it becomes difficult. First of all, anything that is a Japanese product, anything that is a North American product, the two cultures have assumptions about women. And that means that you're either playing against feminine stereotypes or playing to them. Now, a female warrior is playing against female stereotypes. Now, that being said, there's this thing called the second sex theory, the second gender theory, which means warrior. When you say the word warrior, you immediately think of a guy. Warrior is not considered female. So the minute you have a female warrior, she's a female warrior. You have to make that qualifier. And that's something very interesting about things coming out of Japan, is that they are not afraid to use a female main character. They're not afraid of making her a plain Jane female main character. And, something like Spirited Away, it's this little girl whose eyes aren't that big. There's nothing really remarkable about her appearance-wise. that does not happen with the same regularity in Western media. The problem is there are a lot of problematic things about the treatment of women in Japanese culture. I mean, Death Note was the one that really got me. I mean, women are treated horribly throughout that series. And yes, it's a series about bad people, but it's just this low-level abuse all the way through it. And you can't, the problem is we do not have media that makes things with women in mind. The desirable demographic is 18 to 49 male. And that means that you're going to get some informed producers who want to put a good female character in there anyway, but we are there predominantly as trophies. Any strengths we have are just to make us a better conquest or a better spouse for the male in the series. Now, the Japanese don't have that to the same extent because there's a culture in Japanese storytelling, there's a trope where the man sacrifices himself in the story, so you don't have to worry about that happy ending pairing off the whole thing, because he did. There's a great book written actually by a friend of mine called Shrine of the Siren Stone that turns that thing on its ear, the whole Japanese stereotypes with a female protagonist. And Derwin is a Chinese gentleman, and he takes a lot of crap for being sexist because he writes stories about, you know, Abraham Van Helsing's granddaughter who ends up being a Hooters girl.
Sounds really funny.
It's a great story, and you know, the end of the story is she's neither as dumb or as helpless as everybody makes her out to be, but women immediately go, about things like that because it's not a female warrior, so we automatically think that's exploitative. See, I mentioned Derwin and Kent shows up. People automatically think that a well-endowed woman in the media is exploitative. As a naturally well-endowed woman, obviously, I have a problem with that. People think that a female warrior a la Xena is instantly a big stride for equality, whereas a girl in a little maid's outfit is instantly derogatory towards women. Not necessarily. Or some people think the other way around. Oh, she's got her boobs hanging out, therefore she must be anti-feminist. Oh, she's covered up to her neck, she must be better. These are all assumptions. And the problem is we get so obsessed with gender theory that we stop thinking about women as characters. And because we've got this backdrop of male domination and this backdrop of the patriarchy underlying everything we do, that we can't turn it off to write women as people. And it's a real problem in media. And so I know there's a story with, there's back and forth with Japanese characters and what they mean to women and this, that, and the next thing. There are some great characters in Japanese series. There are some lousy ones in Japanese series. You can't judge the entire of anime, the entire of manga by examples. And this is the problem when people tend to talk about these things. Like, oh, there's this example, and there's this example, and there's this example. Great, but there's so much out there. The problem we're having is the stuff that becomes popular in North America, therefore we access it, is the bad stuff. You know, Sailor Moon in her theme song says, what, will never run from a real fight or something like that? She runs from fights the entire series. I don't understand this. Like, all she's doing is running, and then Tuxedo Mask comes in the last 5 minutes of the episode and saves her. Who wrote this theme song? I mean, Sailor Moon drives me crazy. Meanwhile, I'll play Soul Calibur, and the girls are wearing nothing, but they kick ass, and they kick their own ass, and no guy comes in with a top hat and a flower at the final round of a fight and fights for them. Come on, that's dumb. But girls consume this stuff. They devour it because we're a culture that's afraid of breasts. Hey, we like breasts. We all like breasts. Let's face it. Who's on the cover of women's magazines like Cosmo?
Usually women with breasts.
Who's on the cover of men's magazines like Maxim?
Women with breasts.
We are very conflicted about breasts.
And would it be, would it be, yes it would. Never mind. Please,
what? No, ask.
Could you please pan down? And pan back up. And you are not shy about being a woman with breasts, are you?
I can't do anything about it. My bra size is a 30I.
A 30I.
I. That is, there's not even a word you can, indomitable, I guess. But what society wants me to do to be acceptable, to be decent, is to get surgery. To inject a dangerous poison into my system that knocks me unconscious and then have a surgeon carve my body up. What the hell? And I'm considered dumber because I have larger boobs. I'm considered sluttier. I'm considered less decent. And it becomes this strange talking point. And it's like, this is the way I was made. I don't have implants. I'm not wearing I can't even buy padded bras in my size. Like, they don't exist. And so you see these things. I got kicked off, I got run out of town at a women gaming website because there's this wonderful game called Planescape Torment.
What is Planescape Torment?
It's a RPG set in the Planescape universe, which was a Forgotten Realms D20 system. Wonderful game. And this website ranked the female characters in video games based on how feminist they were, right? How good they were for women or how bad they were for women. And there are 2 female characters that you can put into your party in Planescape Torment. One is a character named Fall from Grace, who's basically the epitome of a virgin whore. She's a thought hooker, basically. Men pay her for stimulating conversation. She's blonde, she's in pastel colors, she's soft-spoken, she's placid, she's serene, she does not get angry. Then there is Anna, who's a thief and got this jaggy red hair and fangs and her skin's kind of blue. She's a tiefling, which if you play Forgotten Realms is a half-demon. And
she sounds cool.
See, you say she sounds cool. This website ranked the blonde thought hooker higher than the awesome thief. That seriously, her move, when she backstabs people, she whips out these 2 daggers, does a front flip, and then stabs someone. It is an awesome animation, and she's voiced by Sheena Easton, so she's got this awesome Scottish voice and the whole thing. She was graded lower because she was an abrasive redhead with large breasts that didn't wear very much.
And male gamers had a problem with this?
No, women gamers had a problem with this. And so I wrote in and went, I don't know how to say this. I'm a large-breasted, redheaded woman. Both are natural. Do you not realize that by singling us out as inherently offensive, you are actually, oppressing me in trying to advance all women? They have never accepted an article I have written for that website. Now, male editors will take my stuff. Who's oppressing who?
Sure enough. Now, we could get into a lot of gender dynamics through this conversation. We could probably eat up the entire tape. I do have 3 others, but
we could eat those up too.
We could eat those up too.
Nom.
Yeah, but I think T-Bone Pearson and his website has gotten quite a lot. And is there something else, something nice and fun that we would like to end on?
Dancing.
Dancing.
We should dance.
Okay.
Dance.
Ready? And we're out.